Hello students, this is your master, Mr. Shaikh.Mohammed.Zubair. Today we will be completing the syllabus in geography, last chapter, that is chapter number 9, tourism, transport and communication. First we will learn about Brazil. Clean white sand beaches, attractive seacoast, beautiful islands, orchards, deep dense forests of Amazon, various birds and animals attract lots of international tourists here. The new capital city of Brasilia is also a tourist attraction. Cities like Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo are large cities which attract lots of tourists. Cities like Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo are large cities which attract lots of tourists. Tourism is an important economic activity in several regions in the country. Looking at the sensitivity of the natural resources in Brazil, ecotourism is developing at a faster rate in Brazil. This is a picture of Brasilia. The number of international tourists visiting India in 2015 is more than that of Brazil. Even though this is true, the share of tourism sector in the GDP is less than that of Brazil. Apart from this, the proportion of Indian population engaged in tourism proportion is higher than Brazil. This is primarily dependent on the size of the population of those countries and the size of the GDP. According to this, population of India is more than Brazil and so is its GDP. As the GDP of India is higher than Brazil and so also its population, therefore, the contribution of tourism to GDP appears lesser than Brazil and population engagement seems higher. Let's see some tourism sites of India and Brazil. This is the site of India. Right hand side are the sites of Brazil. Now we study about India. The number of international tourists in India is constantly growing, but this increase appears to be more after 2010. This increase in the number of international tourists is consistent. Foreign tourists visit India for heritage, adventure, cultural, health and business tourism. Ecotourism is also being given boost in India. Considering the heritage of India, there are plenty of opportunities for tourism in many parts of the country. Many places are being developed for this. Let's learn about Brazil transport. The most common method of transportation is roadways. Roadways account for more than half of transportation system in the country. But the density of road network is concentrated in the eastern part of the country. The forested lands of Amazon River Basin and the swampy lands have limited the development of roadways in this part. Waterways have been developed on a commercial basis in the Amazon River. Boats ply from Iquitos in Peru to the mouth of the river. The longest waterways in the world can be navigated through these waterways, that is around 3,700 kilometers. Another river important for waterways is the south-flowing Parana River. Coastal shipping is also carried out in the coastal areas. Railways have not developed very well in Brazil. The use of trains for long-distance transportation of passengers is restricted to a few urban tourist routes, though it is cheaper. The contribution of airways is less in the transportation system of the country. Let's learn about the transport of India. This is the map of India that shows National Highway Network. This shows you Indian Railway Network, major highways and air transport. As compared to Brazil, India has a denser network of transport. About 85% of passenger and 70% of freight traffic are carried by roads every year. By freight, you mean cargoes. Freight and passenger transport has been facilitated due to the development of the railways. Railways are important for the growth of the Indian economy. Railway network is relatively length-dense in the hill states, northeastern states, central parts of India and Rajasthan, while it is dense in the North Indian plains. Railways are very important for a vast country where distances are large. Waterways are a cheap means of transport. Waterways contribute about 1% to the country's transportation. It comprises rivers, canals, backwaters, creeks, etc. Approximately 95% of India's foreign trade moves through ocean routes. Apart from international trade, these are also used for the purpose of transportation between the islands and the rest of the country. As compared to Brazil, airways in India are more developed and the use of internal airways is also increasing. Now we will study about the communication in Brazil. You will find that because of the vast longitudinal extent of the country, the difference between two extreme points is around 168 minutes. 2 hours 48 minutes. There are different time zones in the country. Brazil has 4 time zones. It is behind the GMT by 2, 3, 4 or 5 hours. GMT 03 time zone, which is considered to be the official Brazilian time, that is BRT. It is 3 hours behind GMT. Let's learn about the development of communication in Brazil. Telecommunication services in Brazil are well developed and efficient. This industry includes landlines as well as mobile services, television broadcasting, radio broadcasting, and computer or internet access. Today, more than 45% of the Brazilian population has access to the internet. The telecommunications infrastructure is fairly modern, particularly in central south Brazil. However, the north and northwest are drastically less developed. Over recent years, mobile telephones have led the rapid expansion of telecommunication services in Brazil. The nature of Brazilian territory, especially landmass size and the large pockets of unpopulated and densely vegetated areas, create significant impediments to the expansion in coverage of telecommunication services. By impediments, you mean barriers. Brazil is developing technology to send domestically made satellites into space with its own rockets. Now we will study about the communication in India. India too has a large longitudinal extent. The difference between the two extreme-most points is 2 hours or 120 minutes. India has only one standard time zone. The 82.5 degree east longitude is the Indian Standard Time, IST. It passes through Allahabad. It is ahead by 5 hours 30 minutes from the Greenwich Meridian Time, that is GMT. With the explosion of electronic media, telecom industry has become one of the fast growing sectors. In this era of information and communication, more digitally enhanced communication devices like mobile phones, internet and satellites are paving way to expansion for the wider reach of communication technology. India is one of the largest users of smartphones and internet. With development of our own satellites, India has come a long way in this field. Children, this is a short exercise which you are supposed to answer in your geography long notebooks. Please try and answer these questions in your own words. As soon as the school reopens, the respective subject teachers will take your books for correction. I hope by this presentation you have learned the chapter easily. Thank you, children, and God bless.